Hi, I'm Tom Miggott from Tom Miggott Photography. I'd like to apologize first of all for my voice. I've just done a 2-day photography workshop here in Edinburgh and I kind of abused it a little bit. Hopefully it's going to be okay for this video, especially because I've been waiting for so long to be able to do it. I needed a second camera body, which I now own for the past 4 days, and I'll talk to you more about it in future episodes. And I needed to upgrade my microphone system. Until now I had a wired mic, and so I was actually stuck very closely to the camera. Now I've gone wireless and it's brilliant. I can move around and make the content of the videos more energetic and more interesting to you guys. So what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to be talking about flashes, external flashes. And we live in the world where the correct dosage of light and shadow will give us the texture, the notion of depth and dimension. If you have too much light, you're not going to be able to see the shadows. And shadows are important in photography as much as light. And we need to be able to actually master the shadows as much as we master the light. And that's the very reason why we rely on external flashes, because we want to be able to actually change the angle of light and play with the dimension and depth. But that brings one question: is how are we going to trigger those external flashes? Well, that's what we're going to do in the next 3 episodes. Today I want to show you the most economic way of doing it, and it happens to be the easiest way as well. So for this, I have my tripod right here. I've got my Canon 60D, the lens 24 to 105L Canon. I have a speed light here. This is a external flash. It's a Canon Speedlight 430EX Mark II. It's a fairly expensive piece of equipment, and you do not need to have a flash as fancy as this one. A flash that will cost you about 30-40 pounds should be enough, as long as you can put it in slave mode. That's all we care about. You can see it's in slave mode right now because it's blinking red, and I'm placing it right behind my model, and my model today is Baby Sky. Baby Sky is brilliant, and I recommend her to all fellow photographers because she will do whatever you want without ever complaining. It's a man's dream, really. So what are we going to do? Well, let's talk about the exposure first of all. You guys can see me on a video here because I've got a few lights in the ceiling, and I've got a couple of lights here in the studio just to bring some light and to be well exposed for the video. But I've set up my camera using the sync speed. If you do not know what a sync speed is, I invite you to actually click on the link below and it will tell you all about it. I'm at 250th of a second, f4, ISO 100. If I take a shot right now, no flash going to be triggered. I'm taking a shot, and as you can see, it's pitch black. So clearly the ambient light does not have any effect on my exposure here on my model. Our trigger today is going to be the built-in pop-up flash. So most DSLR will have one. And we all know about it. We know that it will change the exposure, right? But what you might not know is that it has the power as well to trigger all the flashes, all the slave flashes. And in fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going into the menu right now, and Canon is called Flash Control. Check your manual to see exactly what you need to do, but most Nikon, Pentax, Sony will enable you to do that. You can actually set your pop-up flash to act not as a flash, but as a trigger, and that's what I'm doing right now. You may see some light coming out of it, and that beam of light will actually be captured by my slave and will trigger it. But there won't be enough light to actually change the exposure on my model. So let's see what I mean. You can see the front of my model on the picture is clearly not lit up. The only light is coming from the back, the slave flash. It's been triggered by my pop-up flash. But I can also set my pop-up flash to act not only as a trigger, but also as a normal flash. It will do both. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going into the menu and I'm setting this up. I'm taking an exposure now. You can clearly see that the face of my model has been lit up thanks to my built-in pop-up flash, but also lit up from the back with the back flash that's been triggered by my pop-up flash. Finally, a third setup that you can use is having some kind of ratio between your pop-up flash and your external flash. So let's say if I want my external flash to be 4 times more powerful than my pop-up one. Well, I'm going back to the menu changing that, I'm introducing that ratio factor, and 4:1. Here you go. I'm taking a shot, and what you can see, I'm putting the two photos next to each other. You can see that now my subject is still lit up at the front, but a lot less than it used to be before when I had a ratio 1:1. So now it's lit up from the back, 4 times stronger than from the front. So this is the easiest setup you can have. Do not think for a second that you can do it with only one external flash. In fact, you can have as many as you want. And I'm going to take another flash that I have here. It's not a Canon, it's a Yongnuo. One thing you need to bear in mind when you get flashes, you may want to make sure that those flashes will actually work with your camera, at least speedlight wise. Studio strobes and all, it's different. And if you want to know more about the different type of flashes that there are out there, I invite you to actually click on the link now of a video that I've done several months ago telling you all about it. So I've got my flash here, and it's set up as a slave as well. Another notion that you need to be aware of is, in order for all those gear to talk to each other, they need to be in the same frequency. That's what we call channel. So my camera is set on channel 1, and my two external flashes are set in channel 1 as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set my flash, my second external flash, just right here on the right side of my model. And because it's an external flash, it's going to be exactly with the same ratio power force as my other external flash. So it's going to be 4 times stronger than my pop-up flash. So I'm just placing it here on the right side, and here we go. So you can see clearly the right side of my model has been overexposed now because of that second flash, and that opens a door of infinite possibilities, because now you can be more creative, move the light around, play with the shadows, and all you needed was what? 2 external flashes and your built-in pop-up flash. Nothing can beat that. Well, obviously it comes with drawbacks because they're being triggered by a beam of light. You need to make sure there's some kind of line of sight. If I was to put those external flashes behind walls, they might not be able to actually see or receive the light beam from the trigger, and so they won't be triggered, they won't burst. Also, because it's a pop-up flash, it's not that powerful. If I was to put my camera 30-40 meters away from my flashes, it's possible that might not be triggered as well. Some of you may think that another alternative, cheap alternative, would be to rely on cords, but it's really not the case, because most consumer DSLR won't enable you to actually plug a cord directly to the camera and link it to external flashes. What you'll need is a piece of equipment, mounting it on the hot shoe, having pretty much the same equipment with your flash, because some flashes, cheap ones, do not have a port to plug the cable, so that's not cheap at all. A lot more expensive than this built-in pop-up flash. And if you do not have a built-in pop-up flash, well, you can always use an external flash, as long as it can be in master mode. Mount it there, set it up, and it will trigger just the same. Well, this is it. In the next episode we'll talk about the infrared trigger. And until then, this is Tom Bigot saying, if you like it, well, capture it and maybe trigger your life with a built-in pop-up flash. Ciao.